Next, we have Christine Olmsted. She's an assistant superintendent in Orange County Office of Education, and she will guide us to connect the principles with the LCAP and the state priorities. Now, Christine is she's in the current 2018 CISC chair. She's the chair. She has led the state's rollout for MTSS, and she definitely supports the LCAP implementation. So, Christine, welcome.
I have to give a lot of shout out to the Davis people who just presented. I was by your board member, and he was a proud papa back there. So good job. So just sorry if you did this already. My flight was canceled this morning, so I'm on a late flight. So I just need to see from hands in the room if you are at a site level, at a classroom site, okay, district level. Most of you, okay. And then county office, state, others, okay. So if I say LCAP in this part right now, put it into your context. It might be your single plan for student achievement if you're at a site level. If you're at a county office, it's how you review LCAPs. If you're at the district office, it's how you write your LCAPs. So just put it in the context of what I'm saying, because it'll all connect for you. So how does the California EL Roadmap connect to the LCAP? So it specifically makes an alignment to promote local capacity building and continuous improvement surrounded around the need for English learners. As you all know, English learners are one of our priority areas in the state of California. And so the English Learner Roadmap helps us make explicit connections to best serve the needs of our English learners. So what I'd like you to start with is what I'm going to call the centerfold of your EL roadmap. It's page 18. Fold it out and look at it, and just for a few minutes, explore the 4 principles related to the 8 state priorities. And we're going to go through an activity where you'll dig deeper into this, but just look at the 4 principles, the 8 priorities, and then kind of the elements that you reviewed earlier in the day. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes just to look at that. Everybody's good with the 8 state priorities? Know that that's what we're supposed to adhere to. And then these guiding principles for the EL roadmap are going to help us meet the needs of our English learners across the state. So if you're looking at the elements, you'll see and notice that you might see element 2A, which is integrated and designated English language development, actually fits in with principle 2 of quality instruction and meaningful access, and then also looking at school climate. And so the rationale there is if you're looking at English language development and you're doing integrated and designated ELD, you're creating cultures on your campuses that are asset-based and value students' language, just what we heard from Davis. Okay, that's exactly what they're doing, and we want to make sure that we're valuing language and celebrating the assets that our students bring to us. So the second one you'll see as another component is the use of students' home language surveys, and that helps with pupil engagement. Making sure we understand what our students are coming to us with, what their parents are bringing to us, and what supports we need to have in place in order for us to engage is really important. So these crosswalks help make sure that we're looking at these things as our students enter our doors, and as we write our plans, we make sure that we have actions and services related to addressing the needs of our EL students. So you're going to do a table activity for 10 minutes right now, and you're going to use the crosswalk on page 18, and you're going to look to see what degree of the EL roadmap principles or elements are reflected in your LCAP. And if you're at a school site, look at it from a school site plan level, okay? Or if you are really entrenched in your LCAP and you're doing that connection between your LCAP and your SPSA, or you're a site team together with your district team, use your LCAP as your guiding document. But to make it meaningful, take these 10 minutes and really start to look to see, do I have elements of the guiding principles from the EL roadmap, a match to the state priorities, reflected in my guiding documents that I use as a site leader or a district leader or a county office leader? Am I looking for that for my districts who are turning their LCAPs into me, or for state leaders who are helping support implementation of LCAPs? And then how can you use the EL roadmap principles to work with it, and how could this tool assist your district? So you have 10 minutes to have this conversation. Does everybody understand what you're going to do for the next 10 minutes? Yes? Okay, go for it. Just a couple people, if you could share out, how might this tool assist your district in your strategic planning? And I would say that your LCAP is your strategic plan, or your SPSA is your strategic plan. How could you use this tool now that you've had a minute to dig into it? Answers are tickets to lunch. I have good wait time.
Well, I work at a county office, and so we don't have our own LCAP. However, I do see a value in this tool in terms of having conversations with our district colleagues, whether we're talking about site district administration or whether we're talking about classroom teachers, because so often a piece like this can feel like another layer of initiative that I, as the classroom teacher, need to learn and figure out how to implement. And the idea that using this tool really illuminates the good pieces that are already in place, the strengths that are in our system. Now we can, as the colleagues suggested, narrow down to what's one thing. We've got these great pieces in place already, but let's focus on one next step that we can do to improve the product that we're providing for our learners.
And to piggyback on that, with MTSS, that initiative moving forward with, I'm just putting a plug in for you right there.
Thank you.
But with aligning our goals and initiatives, which of course the LCAP priorities, goals, all are within that, as a county office, having the differentiated assistance conversations that we're going to have, us keeping in mind that if these state priorities are goals, where they are in their LCAP, how are we going to support them in their differentiated assistance? We can now strategically make sure as providers we are including the elements of the LCAP under those priorities. So that crosswalk can become a huge correlation for our support of the districts.
Great.
So our team allowed me to be very transparent, open up our LCAP district goals and actions and read through, and we found elements in all 4 areas. I know, exciting, huh?
Yes.
We're doing great things. But you know what we ended up doing? We started with the crosswalk, but we actually went back to the document itself because we really needed to clarify. We were looking in the parent engagement section, is the access and resource for parents or students? And then the idea came up at the table. One of my colleagues said, well, I think what I'd like to do is take the 4 big ideas and like on a placemat listed underneath, so you're looking at one sheet at a time when you're doing the comparison to the LCAP. It would have been very strategic, and then you're going to highlight, see, these are our strengths, and what might we choose to be our next grow. So it was kind of fun.
Very good. And will you continue that when you go back to your site?
I'm at the district, and absolutely, because we're always looking for how can we get better.
Exactly.
But I think starting the conversation here, it was just really natural. We finished it in 3 minutes,
Awesome.
4 minutes? It was good.
Good. So you could even incorporate that into like a district meeting with your principals or something like that, where you're looking at an element every time. Very nice. Good. All right. That's good. So we did that. So here's another question that comes with LCAP and LCFF. And I always feel like I'm Jerry Maguire in this section, and you're all Cuba Gooding Jr., and you all say, right? And so, you like that? So, couple things, like where is the money, but also, is the EL roadmap another initiative? Okay, we always feel so initiative heavy in California, and especially if you're at a site level or in the classroom level, right? And I've been all of those positions, so I know exactly how you're feeling, and I'm now in those levels where I'm pushing these things out, right? And so I always need to be mindful that when we talk about MTSS and we talk about the MTSS framework for the state of California that's been being rolled out for the past 2 years, that we're really talking about a framework. We're talking about a multi-tiered system of support, right? What do all students get? What do some students get based on need? And what do a few students get based on need? And we can also put, what do all adults get? What do some adults get? And what do a few adults get? All based on need. We know a multi-tiered system of support does not work without family and community engagement, strong and engaged leadership, strong policies and practices. So if I'm going back to what I heard about Davis, and having a board who is completely supporting dual immersion as a way to meet the needs of English learners, that's strong policy and practice, right? And integrated educational frameworks. So how do we make all of our frameworks align? The ELA ELD standards are integrated educational frameworks that go along with all of the frameworks we have in the state of California. So it's not another initiative. It all fits within our statewide system of support to meet the needs of all kids. So when we're looking at funding opportunities, we need to kind of have this mindset of all, some, and few. So if I were to ask all of you, do you have to provide support for English language learners? For all English language learners? Yes, okay. That is all. Now, do you sometimes have to provide extra support for English language learners who are not making progress? That is some. Do you sometimes have to provide a little bit more support for some English language learners who are not making significant progress? Yes, that's few. That's how you align your dollars. Just think of it as all, some, and few. What do I have to offer to all English language learners because it's required by Ed Code? When English language learners are not making progress, what do I have to offer to some? And when a few of my English learners are still not making progress, what more supports do I need to provide to help them get access to the core curriculum and be proficient in English, and hopefully also proficient in their native language? Okay, so just think of this as all, some, and few when you're budget planning. Does that make sense? That's where you find your money. So when you look at your programs and your funding that you have offered to you, and you're looking at LCFF, you have base funding, right? And then you have supplemental and concentration. So base funding, what do all of my English learners need to have? That's base, because English learners are a requirement as core program. Then I can look at supplemental to provide additional support, and then I can look at concentration to provide even more support. Then I can also layer in my title programs, Title I, Title II, Title III, to also layer in additional some and few support for my English learners. Okay, so think of it that easy. This is how it all fits in to a system of support to meet the needs of all of our diverse learners in California. That's it in a nutshell. After lunch, you are actually going to have time to work on a self-reflection rubric. It's going to show you multiple entry points to start assessing where your strengths are related to identifying areas where you could better tie in the principles to your LCAP or your school site plans or various documents, guiding documents that you use. So with that, any questions before I release you all to lunch? All right.